Hey guys, it's Cynthia Sheppard, and thank you so much for joining me for this ImagineFX portrait workshop. Today I'll be borrowing my friend and fellow artist Lake Hurwitz as a model, and walking you step by step through a process using strong shadow shapes to create depth and drama in a portrait. So let's get started. My first step is getting the model situated and lit properly. So I did that by setting up 2 lights on either side of Lake and making sure there was no ambient light coming from other household lamps or in through the windows. The types of shadows that we're going to see on the model's face will be affected by how many light sources we use and where they're placed in relation to him. So let's quickly go over the types of shadows that I'm going to be looking for. And to do this, we'll bring out the classic art school sphere because it's so much easier to observe shadow types on a simple surface than a more complex one. But we'll just imagine that this is perhaps a nose or a brow ridge or something. But the first shadow type is going to be a cast shadow, which is where an object gets in between a light source and another surface and throws its own shadow as a dark spot on that surface. The core shadows, the second type, are a little more complex, they're a little more subtle, but they're the termination point where 2 light sources or a light source and a reflective bounce light of some kind meet in the middle. And finally, I want to look for form shadows, because those are the ones that appear on the side of the object that's facing away from the light source. You can think of it kind of like the dark side. But most importantly, what to look for with form shadows is their edges. They tend to have more of a gradient, more of a blended edge. They're softer. The way that I like to think about them is that they are the shadows that wrap around a form. My first stop on the journey to lighting perfection was one of my go-to lighting setups, which is a top-down spot. And the reason I love the top-down spot for creating drama is that it basically shows you the structure of the skull within someone's face. It gives you these really deep cast shadows in the eye sockets and under the nose, and then a really dark form shadow on the other side of the face. And then I said, scratch that, let's do something completely different, and light Lake from both sides. And what that did was it deleted all of those cast shadows and instead gave us a much softer core shadow down the middle of the face. Ultimately, I'll be looking to combine those things, but before I do that, I'd like to mention a couple of things I like to avoid. You'll want to watch out for lighting setups like this one, where the light is all coming directly from the front, because it's not really giving us many shadows within the face at all. Possibly even more confusing than looking at a model with not enough shadows is looking at one with way too many. If you look at a face and you can no longer determine where the shadows are, it's a good bet that removing a light source or 2 will help. Ultimately, I moved lights around until I found a really nice blend of core shadow down the side of Lake's face and some nice cast shadows, some nice form shadows, giving us a little bit of everything. So at this point, I'm going to get started on the actual portrait itself, starting with finding just a basic outline of the outer edges of the head and face, and from there, going straight into the core shadows. And you'll notice what I do first is sort of create a line through the center of the face, kind of where those 2 light sources are meeting. And I think at this point it's a good opportunity for me to step away from the microphone and let the portrait sort of play out in front of you, and I'll put text on screen when we're transitioning between one step or the other. So thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the portrait. And there we have it. We're finished with the portrait, and I want to say thank you so much for watching this ImagineFX tutorial. I hope it's been fun and interesting to watch, and maybe you learned a thing or two, but I had a lot of fun making it, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Take care and keep painting. Bye-bye.